Hello, my name is Chris,
And my name is Brenden.
and today we will be discussing The Great Gatsby, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald, released on September 25th, 1925.
The book demonstrates man's nature and how hard it is to recapture the past. It also captures the historic time of post-war America.
There are many conflicts, but the main conflict is Gatsby's desire to get rich and win the love of Daisy. The climax is when Myrtle is killed by Daisy, who's driving Gatsby's car, which goes to show the jealousy and human nature of Daisy. George shooting Gatsby is the resolution, and it shows how people will make hasty decisions when angry. We can learn from this by not making decisions such as acting out in an angry manner when trying to solve a conflict. The character we chose to discuss today is Great Gatsby, Jay Gatsby, the Great Gatsby himself. Now, he's a very past-dwelling character. He can never just seem to let go of the past, and this eventually led to his downfall. He's a very mysterious man as well, and hardworking. The reason he's so mysterious is because he makes money illegally. He goes originally from being a poor, just growing up very poor, being a janitor, but he sells illegally, so that's what makes him so rich. He changes a lot. If I were to cast somebody as an actor, if there was a movie, The Great Gatsby, I would have to go with Aaron Rodgers. The reason being because Aaron Rodgers from Breaking Bad, of course, Jesse, he has to portray a lot of different emotions as Jesse. Jesse goes through a lot, and Gatsby is somewhat emotional. There's a lot of things that you can see go on with him, and honestly, I think Aaron Rodgers could really portray those emotions very well. All right. Can you tell me a little bit about the setting, Brenden?
Yeah, the book is set in two dirty cities called West Egg and East Egg, located in New York in the early 1900s post-war.
The Jazz Age, for sure. Okay. What about the state of the city?
The disgusting state of the city, of the cities, gives the reader a bad feeling towards both of them.
Yeah, and the people in there are pretty bad too.
Yeah.
What about the people?
They are all cruel and have pursued wealth to the point of they've basically destroyed the city.
So that's why the air is so messy. And we can see this with the faded eyes of Dr. Eckelberg, because that was a symbol of wealth. And over the years, that eventually just became faded. And it just goes to show how the city has just become so terrible, along with the people getting worse and worse every day. And the families aren't structured at all. The only couples there are fight. They have no cell phones or computers or anything to communicate either. Many of them live in lavish homes, but that isn't where they get their joy, because they're all terrible people.
So they act like spoiled?
They're very spoiled.
Like the kids of today?
Pretty much, very spoiled. Yeah, it's very interesting to see what all their pursuits and their greed has turned them and their city into.
Yeah.
I think that's what this entire book is about, and it slowly gets worse and worse, and eventually leads to each character's downfall,
Yeah.
Except for, of course, Nick.
What is one of the main themes of The Great Gatsby?
The American Dream. It really illustrates the American dream and shows the wealth, everything about the system we use, capitalism, how people acquire the money they get, and how people live in that American system.
Can you give a specific example from the book about it?
A good example of the American dream lifestyle in the book is when Jay Gatsby makes all of his money and becomes very rich trying to get Daisy to love him. The American dream type of lifestyle is, while the money may look nice, while it may give you the joy that you're looking for, and you may look good to other people, that's not really going to give you true joy, and that returns to what we were talking about earlier. So you can definitely see that with Jay's pursuit of wealth. So what was the most compelling moment or element in this book to you?
The most compelling moment was whenever Daisy ran over Myrtle while driving Jay's car.
Out of greed. All greed, yeah.
But since everybody thought it was, the people who saw it thought it was Jay, he owned, like, he acted like it was him that actually did it instead of Daisy, because he was just trying to keep her out of trouble.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to blame her, and he was the one that ended up getting shot. And that's actually what I was going to say. The most interesting moment to me is that he's the one that ended up getting shot. The entire time, his whole life was built around trying to get her love, and he was the one that ended up taking the blame and eventually getting shot. So I just thought that was very interesting, and that we can learn from that by not devoting our life to somebody or something and then letting them take control of our lives because we're obsessed with them, and then eventually, that can come back to us in a bad way.
Continuing about Jay Gatsby, he is the most interesting character for me.
Same.
Because mine is because he managed to make himself a fortune from organized crime and not get caught, but he ended up getting himself killed because of just trying to keep somebody out of trouble.
And that's what I think too, is that, like, he didn't get in trouble for all the illegal stuff. He got in trouble for what he didn't do,
Yeah.
But what do you most dislike about the book?
I think it would be Daisy, because, I don't know, she's just like all the other mean, like, in Cinderella, like, the mean stepsisters.
Exactly.
Like, they don't really care about anything. It's just, they want what they want. It's not, they don't do anything to help somebody else.
Exactly. I completely agree with that. Now, me personally, the thing that I had the most negative feeling towards was the greed and the jealousy of the characters and how spoiled they were. Just kind of bothered me every single time I saw their behavior. Like, at the party, they're all getting drunk. The one lady is showing off the puppy she bought. She doesn't even care about the puppy. The guy punches his woman, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they think they're above the law and everything.
Exactly. Now, all right.
So, if you were to choose two songs, like, as a soundtrack for this book, which two would they be?
Personally, I would have to choose Repentless by Slayer, because it's all about a world in disarray. It's about chaos and vanity and what it does to people, and it's purely against that, and that's what most of these characters in this book act like. They act very vain, very jealous, greedy. The second one would have to be Watch It Crash by Tokay. The reason I choose that one is because it's all about how once something bad has happened, once people start to become greedy, they go down a really bad path, and that just gets worse and worse over the years, and that's what's happened in this city. So those are the two songs I would choose.
I like that. So, like, what was your final judgment on the book?
Me personally, I really enjoyed the plot structure. I thought that there was a lot of really interesting things that happened in this book. I think it has a very good moral at the end. Of course, we've talked about it multiple times, to not let jealousy overcome you or greed.
I completely agree, but I would also like to add the characters. They were really well developed through the book, and you could definitely see how they changed. And
well, they weren't necessarily well developed, but they definitely developed.
They definitely did develop. Maybe not for the better, but they did develop.
And it's interesting watching them develop.
It is.
Yeah. What would you rate the book?
I would rate the book like a 6 out of 10.
Why?
Because it started off quite slow. It didn't gain momentum until, like, chapter 7 and stuff, whenever, like, all the drama started to ensue, like the running over of Myrtle and the Jake getting shot and all that.
Yeah. For me, I would have to rate it a 7 out of 10, mostly because I agree with you on a lot of those parts, but I do want to rate it a little higher just because it brings us back to a time in American history where we can perfectly see what was going on during that time, and it helps us understand what the pursuit of wealth does and the morals as well that I've spoken about. So that's why I give it a little higher than a 6. But yeah, anyways, that's our thoughts on The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and we hope you enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day.